All right. So have you revised the topic? Like any problem in the topic?
No, it's all clear.
All right. So basically, we were talking about what is the principle of ventilation and what do we need to do, how our body is adjusted, and how the air moves, why the air would move if we inhale, and why it would move when we exhale. And then we talked about what are the structures of the organs that are supposed to be present in our respiratory system, and what are the functions of different organs, especially the trachea. What are the essential things in the trachea that would be working for us? Okay, now talking about the same picture again, talking about the same picture again. This one, hold on, let's copy it again. You see in this picture, you see that there is a very muscular thing present just below, you can say below the lungs. These, this muscular thing, this large one unit is called as the diaphragm. The diaphragm actually is, you can say, it is a muscle. It is a muscle, and it it is joined with the lungs. Like you can say, it is attached with the lungs, and not directly to the lungs, but you can say outer layer. It is joined with the outer layer of the lungs. Now, what would happen that, um, which means that, so it can move, so it can move when, or you can say, so the lungs can move when the diaphragm moves. So the lungs can move when the diaphragm moves. So this basically is the idea of combining or attaching the diaphragm to the lungs. Now, what is the movement, you can say plane? What is the movement plane of the diaphragm? The diaphragm typically move up and down, and it is not like a lift. Since it is a muscle, so you can say that it contracts and relaxes. It contracts and relaxes, and when it relaxes, it appears like a dome. It appears like a dome. Just look at this. It appears like a dome. When this is the position where it is relaxing. But when it comes to the contraction, it the dome disappears, dome disappears, and the whole diaphragm and the whole diaphragm moves down. Diaphragm moves down. Now, for that particular reason, I would have to open a new animation. But first, I would show you. Now, this would be the appearance of the diaphragm when you say that it is being contracted. So just imagine that when it would move downward, it would obviously take the lungs with it. It would obviously take the lungs with it. And what is the benefit of it? The contraction basically would lead to the contraction would lead to expansion of expansion of lungs. In other words, expansion of thoracic cavity. Okay, what is a thoracic? What is the meaning of thoracic? Do you know what is the meaning of thoracic?
Is it got to do something with the thorax? Um,
What's the thorax? It basically is the chest region. You
yeah.
can just simply say there are two main regions. One region is called as the thorax, and the other region is called as the abdomen. So, the region of the thorax is related to the chest. So, basically, when the lungs would expand, I'm sorry, when the diaphragm would contract, it would be expanding the thoracic cavity downward, downward. And contraction would, relaxation would do the opposite. It would do the opposite. And what is the opposite? The relaxation of the diaphragm would squeeze the thorax or reduce the volume of thorax. We would say increase in thorax volume. Now, when the lungs would expand, what do you think should happen? What do you think should happen? Like, the air pressure should go down or it would rise.
If it relaxes,
When the lungs expand or the diaphragm
when the lungs
relaxes.
expands, then the pressure decreases because there's more space.
Exactly. So it would lead to uh, decreased air pressure inside. Air pressure inside. That is that is basically the theme. And it would all the things would happen in the opposite direction when the diaphragm would relax. Okay, I would lead you to the animations later. First, let's talk about the another event that would be occurring now. Remember that two events are necessary to remember. The volume of thoracic cavity is increasing, which means expansion, leading to decreased air pressure. These are this is an event. But when it is happening when the diaphragm is contracting. So I would say that this is the inhalation event one. Then this is the inhalation event two, expansion of thoracic cavity or increase in thoracic volume. This is the inhalation event three, decreased air pressure. Another phenomena is about to happen is that the rib cage. Okay, now for this purpose, I would take a bit of time to draw the diagram. This is the middle bone of the chest, middle bone of the chest, and the ribs basically start from here. The first rib, okay, now the area which I'm coloring right now, this is the rib. And the area which is not colored, it is the area present between the ribs. It is the region between the ribs that is not basically covered by the bone. Remember, the area that I am filling right now is actually the rib bone. So this is a rib. And there are muscles, there are muscles present in this direction. There are muscles present between the ribs. This is one side, and then there is another side. I would take a bit of time now again. I would try to be quick so that we may understand the things better way. Now these are again the ribs. Okay. Now, do you see any difference in the drawing of the muscle?
What do you mean?
Like, is there any difference in the direction of my drawing on this side and on this side?
I think the right side is wider,
No, 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 no.
and
That's the fault of the diagram. Listen to me closely. If you draw a straight line, imaginary straight line, you will see that
is it
on one
tilted?
side, I'm sorry,
Is it meant to be tilted to one
uh,
side?
red color or black color? Hold
Like,
on, hold on,
yeah.
hold on. Basically, if you look closely, on one side, I drew the muscles from, if I consider this side as the left side and this side as the right side. So on one side, I drew the muscle, I drew the red lines from left to right, and on the other side, I drew them from right to left. What's the reason behind it? First of all, try to understand that these red things are intercostal muscles. Intercostal muscles. And these muscles are again about to play their role. They play their role in expanding or expanding or squeezing the thoracic cavity. Thoracic cavity. Basically, these intercostal muscles are they are again they are again uh, they are attached to the muscle. They are attached to the lungs. Attached to the lungs. Attached to the lungs. Now, the sides which you are looking, that is from left to right, these are, you must remember that there are two layers of muscles. To make you understand, I can remove all the muscles from here and redraw them. Just look at this. There are two layers of muscles. One layer of muscles would be like this. This layer would be present on the outside, which is from right to left. And then this is the other side. This is the back side of the same region. Like this one is present, or I would say this one is upper muscular layer and this one is lower muscular layer. The reality is that their names are, these are external intercostal muscles. External intercostal. It's just like putting the two pages above each other in opposite direction. Putting the two pages above each other in opposite direction, and one is outer or external intercostal muscles, and this one is internal intercostal muscles. Now, what would they be their functions? Their functions would be, external intercostal muscles would pull the lungs outward, or in other sense, I would say they would increase the thoracic volume, increase the thoracic volume. pull the
Okay.
lungs outward or increase, and the internal intercostal muscles, they would pull the lungs inward, decreasing thoracic volume. Okay, so it means that if we talk about the rib cage when we would inhale, the now I would write them in acronyms. Be very attentive. External intercostal muscle would be written as EIM, and they would be written as IIM. During inhalation, the external intercostal muscles contract, pulling the lungs outward, outward, increasing the thoracic cavity, and decreasing air volume. So it means what are we about to do? We are about to inhale. So I would say this is again inhalation event 4, I4. I have to draw it clearly. So this event is inhalation event 4. So in during inhalation, 4 events are occurring. Number 1, diaphragm contracting. Number 2, the increase in the volume of thoracic cavity. Number 3, decrease in the air volume. And number 4, the external intercostal muscles are contracting. So you can say, you can just put two contractions together. One, diaphragm contraction, and number 2, external intercostal muscle contraction. You can put them together and then result, leading to the result of them. Just like if you are describing the inhalation, suppose you are describing the inhalation, what would you do? Hold on. Uh, Inhalation or even exhalation, in both cases, you can follow, first tell the contraction, first tell the contraction, and then tell, okay, yes, then tell the consequence. Suppose I am saying the contraction would occur in diaphragm and in the external intercostal muscles. Consequence, uh, expansion or increase in thoracic cavity and decrease in air volume. Sorry, in air pressure, and you can make another heading, movement of air. That is another heading. First, these are the headings. Like you can draw in this pattern, and air would rush rush in. Then during exhalation, you can write exact opposites. Exact opposites. Uh, Now you would need to, the diaphragm, you have told the contraction. Now exact opposite is going to happen. In inhalation, what is going to relax? Okay, in exhalation, I'll add a point here. No doubt, contraction would happen, but internal intercostal muscles would contract. This would be for contraction. But now I would have to describe that some things are relaxing as well. And what is relaxing? The diaphragm is relaxing, and external intercostal muscles are relaxing. And consequence would be total opposite, and that is decrease in thoracic volume, thoracic volume, and increase in air pressure, leading to the movement of air would be air pushed outside. So this is some we have added an additional heading over here, and I can add an extra point over on the left side. Let me tell you what is that extra. First heading is contraction, second heading is relaxation, then this one would be continued here, and this one would be continued here. The point that I want to add over here is relaxation would happen during inhalation, relaxation of internal intercostal muscles. During inhalation, which it basically means that EIM, external intercostal muscles, and IIM, internal intercostal muscles, are antagonistic. Meaning of antagonistic thing is like you are basically doing opposite. So if this contracts, it has to relax, and if it relaxes, it has to contract. That's a simple point. That is why we call them antagonistic. Got it?
Yeah, I got it.
Can we see the ribs here? I guess not. Okay. You can see this.
Yeah,
The
I can see it.
co- contraction and relaxation of the diaphragm and the movement of lungs. Okay. So would you like to have a look at it for 1 or 2 minutes? Like, you would you like to just read it?
Yeah, let me just open it up as well.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, done.
Okay. Now, since we are familiar with the movement of air and how the ventilation is happening, So next is we are going to talk about the diffusion. See, diffusion is like obviously when the air is moving, when the air is moving and then the air reaches at the site of the exchange. To understand the diffusion, we need to know that there's a every gas exchange surface, every gas exchange. I'm sorry, I have to rewrite it. Every gas exchange surface, or also called as respiratory epithelium, because mistakenly it was named as respiration. This phenomena. So every gas exchange surface should have following features, like following features to make making efficient gas exchange possible. These particular qualities that I'm about to write, these have to be present in every efficient gas exchange surface. Otherwise, the gas exchange won't happen, or it would be very delayed, hindered, disturbed, or very inefficient. So these qualities have to be there in every gas exchange surface. Number one, number one, it has to be single cell thick, single cell thick only, and it has a direct relation with the least diffusion distance. The principle behind it is least diffusion distance, and you can understand, I told you that what factors can increase the rate of diffusion or decrease the rate of diffusion. So,
Um,
mhm,
so single cell thick, so it has the least diffusion distance.
it has the least diffusion distance across it. It basically means that the surface should be like this. It should be like this, and the diffusion would have to occur across it. It has to occur across it, like this. So that is basically the idea. It has to be very, very thin, or you can just say it must be not more than single cell thick. Is it clear?
Yep, it's clear.
Second, second, for efficient diffusion, there must be a very large surface area. Very large surface area. What does it mean? It means that you have to for maximum diffusion of a gas, diffusion of a gas, the surface has to be very large, has to be very large, across which the air has to move, the gas has to move. Remember, now we are not talking about air, we are talking about the gas. Previously, we've been constantly talking about air. Air is totally different from gas. And what is the difference? Gas is only a single thing. Air is a mixture of gases. I suppose you know that.
Yeah.
So, large surface area. What is the meaning of large surface area? Suppose that this is one surface and this is another surface. Oh, sorry. The other surface is this one. Obviously, the volume of the surface is same, but which surface has the larger area? Hmm?
B has the larger surface area.
Exactly. The same rule is followed by alveoli, followed by dividing the lungs into alveoli. Number three, it has to be moisture, because diffusion easily occurs. You may know that when the iron starts rotting, when does the iron starts rotting?
You mean like rusting, right?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, rusting. Yes,
Because it's reacting with water and oxygen.
water and oxygen. But until the water touches the iron, it does not start rusting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, it is the moisture that is leading the oxygen closer to the iron, and it would start rusting. The closer, or it is basically making it easier for the oxygen to making it easier for the oxygen to start reacting with the iron, and hence it would start rusting. So that is the point here. The moisture is very much favorable for oxygen diffusion. So moisture is has to be there, and the moisture is basically released by the cells. Released by, if I write down the point here, the moisture, or the water basically is released by the alveolar epithelium. Alveolar epithelium. The fourth point, very important, it should have a very rich blood supply. And you know about it. We have been talking about the alveoli and the capillaries surrounding it. We have been talking about, and the only purpose of capillaries surrounding the alveoli is to making the exchange of gases possible. Got it?
Yes.
Actually, very rich blood supply is leading to a large concentration gradient. If you focus, because the blood is bringing the carbon dioxide and taking away the oxygen. So basically, you can easily understand that if I say this is the alveolus, and what would you say the black small blocks that I'm drawing here? This is basically the alveolar epithelium. This is alveolar epithelium. Oh, sorry, I drew it wrong because I have to draw other things. So I would take the label from here. Alveolar epithelium. Okay. Then, uh, just below the alveolar epithelium, you will find the capillary. Obviously, the capillary that you would find, I would say I would prefer drawing it in blue. And the reason of it is very specific. You might know that already. Okay, what is the color of our blood, by the way?
Blood is red.
And what about the deoxygenated blood?
Deoxygenated blood. It's dark red.
Very good. Basically, this is right. Most students answer it that the deoxygenated blood is blue and the oxygenated blood is red. No, it's the difference. Like deoxygenated blood is darker one, and the oxygenated blood is bright red, dark red and bright red. So this particular vessel is basically taking the blood from the pulmonary artery. If you remember, the pulmonary artery takes the deoxygenated blood from the right ventricle of the heart and leading to the capillaries. Now these are the red blood cells which are actually high in carbon dioxide. So over here you have high carbon dioxide, RBCs, high carbon dioxide, and low oxygen. Now, when the air is coming in, it has a very high oxygen and very low carbon dioxide. Very low carbon dioxide, and you know that this concentration gradient or this pressure gradient of gases would lead the removal of carbon dioxide and gaining of oxygen. So the oxygen would be gained, and right after the oxygen would be gained, the blood cells would take the blood back towards the heart, towards the left ventricle, with the help of the pulmonary vein. So now the carbon dioxide has become higher in the alveolar air and oxygen is now lower. Let me mention it again. This is alveolar air. This is alveolar air. So this was the air that was entering. This air basically entered the alveolus, and this air is leaving the alveolus, and you can see the clear difference. The carbon dioxide has been transported to the air. You can draw a table. The concentration of carbon dioxide and oxygen in the inhaled air and the exhaled air. So you can just compare them by drawing a table. Let's say the nitrogen comes when the nitrogen enters in the inhaled air, the nitrogen is 78%, and in exhaled sometime it becomes 77.5%. Then comes the oxygen. The oxygen is almost 21% in inhaled and 16% percent inhaled. Then comes the carbon dioxide. The carbon dioxide is 0.04% in inhaled air and 4% in the exhaled air. That is the difference made by the diffusion of air across the alveolar epithelium. Across the alveolar epithelium. Now, there is a very important thing. There is a very interesting question that is often asked in the CIEs. Suppose that the black one is the alveolar epithelium, and the red one, the red layer that I'm drawing over here, this is basically endothelium of capillary. You remember that
Yeah.
capillary possesses endothelium. Yep, endothelium of capillary. Now, and this is the red blood cells down here. Now, over here you have an oxygen molecule. Now, my question is that how many cell membranes, please very closely listen, how many cell membranes does this oxygen molecule have to cross to reach inside the red blood cell. How many cell membranes it has to cross? 1, 3, 5, or 7? I'll change the 7 with 4. 4.
Um, I'm not sure.
Okay, any guess?
One or three? Three.
Let's figure out. Let's figure out. Uh, would the oxygen have to pass the cell membrane?
Yeah, it would.
Would have to pass. And why are you saying that, by the way?
Because it's diffusion, right? So it has to pass
Yeah.
cell membrane.
Now, now the thing is, it would first pass through this membrane, then through this membrane, then through this membrane, then through this membrane, and then through this membrane to enter into the red blood cell. How many times it passed through the cell membranes?
It's passing three times, right?
No. The first time is this one. Second time it is this one. Third, this one. Fourth, this one. And fifth is this membrane. So it has to pass 5 times through the membranes to enter into the red blood cell. Clear?
Yeah.
Hmm. Everything that is entering into the blood would first appear in the heart because the blood is getting back to heart. So anything that would be entering into the alveoli, it would be passing through the heart first. All right. So this chapter is finished. Okay. So basically, the question is, why do we need oxygen? A very big question.
Mm, Respiration, energy.
Okay, respiration energy. Yes, we need the oxygen to perform the respiration. And obviously, in, we carbon dioxide, get rid of carbon dioxide, basically because it's a byproduct of metabolism, and we do not keep waste of glucose metabolism. So we get rid of it. Get rid of it. Okay, did I tell you the changing in the exhalation and about the change in the exhalation and inhalation rate?
Yeah, I think you did.
And did I tell you that what organ is the most sensitive to carbon dioxide?
No, I don't think you told me that.
Okay, so hold on. Actually, if I take you back to the notes, um, Breathing, less airspace increasing. Okay. Trachea, cartilage. No. Mucus cells, diaphragm. Okay. Actually, our brain is the most sensitive one. Brain is the most sensitive one uh, for the concentration of carbon dioxide. For carbon dioxide concentration in the body. Whenever we swim, it is very, very much difficult for us to stay underwater, isn't it?
Yes.
Hmm. So actually, it is a problem that our body can, you can say, our body can tolerate, but the brain panics because when we move the muscles, our carbon dioxide amount starts rising. And when the carbon dioxide amount starts rising, it typically means that you panic. And when you panic, it would lead you to just quickly coming out of water. You cannot swim for long enough. This is the reason. Otherwise, we always have enough oxygen. If the brain does not panic, we can be there for a longer time. Okay. Anyways, then now the change in the breathing rate mainly depends, chiefly depends upon the carbon dioxide concentration in blood. Why am I telling you this before the next chapter? Because there is a very important topic related to this phenomena about to come. Okay, so now uh, we get rid of carbon dioxide and we need oxygen for respiration. First of all, what is respiration? Respiration is the breakdown of organic compounds. You can also write enzymatic breakdown of organic compounds to extract energy from them. Or you can also write a breakdown of high energy compounds, not only organic. Instead of saying organic, you can say high energy compounds. And what is the use of this energy? Let me write it completely. Can you tell me what is the use of this energy?
Um, Basically to operate our muscles.
Any energy activity like muscles, like heart, our brain require energy 24 hours. Brain activity. Similarly, you can say active transport, which happens in many parts of our body. Active transport, anything that you can relate it to. So that is the protein synthesis. A very important point. Protein synthesis can never happen without the ATP, without the energy. So, what molecules we can break? The molecules that could be broken in this procedure is fats. No, I would never write fats on number one. Number one molecule on the priority are the glucose. Then sometime we can break the amino acids, and the one type of molecule that are broken down with most difficulty are the fats. Anyways, so Where does it happen? Where does it happen? This is very important to know. Remember that, first of all, to answer this question, first of all, you need to remember that respiration is a very complex procedure. So it requires different cellular site, requires very sorry, different cellular sites, different cellular sites. Okay, so now if I mention it, suppose that this is your cell membrane, this is your cell membrane, and over here you have glucose. You would convert the glucose into a compound X, compound X. Then you must also know that the oxygen, you must also remember that oxygen is the ultimate requirement for the respiration. Now, oxygen, then when the oxygen is available, your compound X would be entering into the mitochondria. It would be entering into the mitochondria. And when it would enter into the mitochondria, the rest of the procedures would occur here. Rest of respiration would occur here. And it would give us energy. What if, what if the oxygen is lacking? We don't have enough oxygen. Then what would happen? Should we shut down the procedure?
No, but like you mean lacking as in completely not there or just like in a small amount?
Uh, you can just for an instance, let's say it's completely not there.
So you can't do respiration without oxygen.
Hmm. Otherwise, body would die, start dying. So why do you think? What do you think would happen if your oxygen is lacking? We basically divide the respiration into two categories: aerobic respiration, in which the oxygen is available, and anaerobic respiration, when the oxygen is not available. We cannot shut down the procedure, remember. So it means we cannot shut down the procedure. So what happens? We turn the process, if the oxygen is lacking, we turn the process towards the anaerobic respiration, in which O2 is lacking. Now remember that a very important point about the respiration is that it occurs in all organisms. There is no organism that can survive, that could survive without the process of respiration. Never, never. So clear, it is very clear that it has to occur in all organism, and all organism can come around a situation where oxygen is lacking for them. Suppose underwater, underwater, if the plants are not there, the oxygen is utilized by the organisms, and ultimate result would be that the organisms would start lacking the oxygen. So what they would do now? What they would do now? Focus. Uh, if oxygen is lacking in bacteria or in human, then The anaerobic respiration would result in formation of lactic acid. Okay, this would become a bit ambiguous. I would have to tell you, actually, a very important thing that I forgot to tell you. Reaction of respiration. Reaction of respiration. Glucose plus oxygen. The result would be carbon dioxide and water. Or I can write it in this way: C6H12O6 plus 6 oxygen, 6 carbon dioxide plus 6 water. Remember that this reaction is for the aerobic respiration. This is for the aerobic respiration. What happens now? The end product of aerobic respiration is what? Carbon dioxide and water
Yeah.
and energy. Along with that, energy. But end product of anaerobic respiration is lactic acid plus very low amounts of energy. End product of one type of anaerobic respiration. Then, if the same anaerobic respiration occurs in the fungus, then the end product would be the alcohol and carbon dioxide plus very low amount of energy. Very low amounts of energy. So now you can easily see that the compounds, when the compounds are broken, there are certain situations that have to be fulfilled. So if oxygen is not available, then it means that your end product would change. Just hold on. So now we are okay. One thing you may feel over here, that these processes have another name. These processes are also called as, I'm talking about these two procedures, are also named as fermentation. Fermentation. And one of them is called as the lactic acid fermentation, and the other one is called as the alcoholic fermentation. Have you heard about these?
Yes, I've heard about them.
Now, the name fermentation basically was given to these procedures anciently. Like the fermentations are the industrial names. The fermentation are the industrial names, but the aerobic and anaerobic respiration, these are their, you can say, chemical names or molecular names. These are the names that were given to them according to the metabolic reaction that is happening. There is no difference in lactic acid fermentation and lactic acid anaerobic respiration, or alcoholic fermentation and alcoholic anaerobic respiration. There is no difference, literally. The thing is that the organism, the industrial names were given to them very anciently, very anciently. So we did not remove that name, but we gave them our names also. So now, aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration, they are basically now our point. So aerobic respiration can turn into anaerobic respiration during excessive exercise. When the It is very important to know that when the aerobic respiration would occur, remember, it is occurring in your body every time, every time when we relax, when we relax. But it can turn, it can turn into anaerobic respiration during excessive exercise, when we have done using, because we have used majority of oxygen from our blood, from our blood. We cannot shut down the production of the energy, so we just shift it to the anaerobic respiration. It's just like if a particular procedure is not running at the petrol, for the time being, you may use the kerosene oil. You may use the kerosene oil, but that would cost you. Obviously, you must know that there are many things that you can run on the petrol as well as the kerosene oil. But if you put the kerosene oil into it, it would cause you damage. It would lead to an excessive production of the byproducts, and it would seriously damage your machinery. I'm just telling you that when you cannot shut down, you try to find out the alternate. It's just like, I was just telling the other day to my students that, let's say you have a machine on which you make the cloths. You make the cloths, and there are two types of machines. One is very efficient, and the other one is very inefficient. You just upgraded your system to the efficient machine, but that efficient machine just due to the overworking, that efficient machine started malfunctioning. So you just shifted to the inefficient one. Now the inefficient one is making the cloth for you, but very slowly. That is the same idea behind it, that whenever we use the aerobic respiration, and we don't have any more of the enough oxygen, we just shift it to the anaerobic respiration. Remember always that it the anaerobic respiration is only fine for the muscles, only fine for the muscles, because uh, that is why we can compromise the anaerobic respiration for the muscles, or you can say we can compromise the aerobic respiration for the muscles. The thing is, if you use majority of oxygen of your blood, from your blood, It is a threat to your heart and brain. So, what does the body do? The body would increase the oxygen direction towards the heart and brain, and it would reduce it towards the muscles. Why? Because brain can never tolerate the lack of oxygen. It would just divert the more blood towards the brain. That is why I'm saying the muscles don't die in the absence of oxygen, but the brain would die. Muscles never die. They would never die in the absence of oxygen. No problem in that. But the heart and the brain can die. So the anaerobic respiration is only fine for the muscles and not for the rest of the organs. So, as I have already told you, this thing is about the excessive and vigorous exercise. Um, we have started using a lots of initially initially means when the oxygen is available, uh, aerobic respiration would happen. Aerobic respiration would occur. But now all the oxygen is consumed. Typically, you are in oxygen debt. Just like when you use the credit card, you are in debt of the bank. When you use the credit card, you are in debt of the bank and you have to return that money. So you are in oxygen debt when you have consumed your oxygen. So you now take a shift to shift to anaerobic respiration. You keep on playing. You keep on doing the exercise. You are now in oxygen debt. Currently, your situation is that you have started you have basically consumed a major part of oxygen, so you are in oxygen debt. And anaerobic respiration, which kind of respiration you are doing? You are basically doing the lactic acid one, in which the lactic acid would form as the end product. So now, but your stamina is falling. As a next step, your stamina is falling down. Stamina is reducing. Since it is reducing, now you would stop playing. And the problem is you have to return the debt. What debt you are in right now? In what debt you are right now? Hello? What kind
I
of
was just
debt we are
copying it
in?
down. Um, you just said oxygen debt.
Yeah, we have to return it. We are in oxygen debt, so we have to return it. And returning it, how would we do it? We'll be talking about it tomorrow. So, sorry, in the next lesson. So, is it understood everything?
Yes, understood.